okay.
He can say stuff and also he can eat.
Oh, okay. So you're a big brother. Great. Congratulations.
And
All right.
also my
Yes.
sister is the big sister.
You have a question over
I'm
there.
sorry. Question.
I think I remembered a fact about him because I read this book.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't read good school or anything. He would go on the streets. Well, because he moved like with his older brother or something. And he would give like poor white boys bread in exchange for lessons.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Well, look. I just want you to listen a little bit of this because, like I said, remember he was born in. Yes. Yes.
Well, I'm actually the oldest of my sister and brother.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
I have a shirt that says "Mom's number one dude."
Oh, okay. Well, yes.
What does word set mean?
Which
Free
word?
mean?
Which word? Free. That means to be free.
No, what does like word set
Oh,
mean
word
to me?
set me free.
What does he mean?
That's the
I think it's the truth.
Yeah, the truth. That's right. The truth. So let me go ahead and yeah. Okay. All right. I want to go ahead and just see if I can read a little bit of this. Okay. All right. My mama was named Harriet Bailey. They say my master, Captain Aaron Anthony, was my daddy. After I was born, they sent me to my grandmama and my mama to another plantation. But when she could, she walked 12 miles in the middle of the night to come and see me. It must have been a long walk because by the time she got there, she was too tired to talk. I remember she would just sit on the dirt floor near my pallet watching me. I never saw her face in the light of day. In the morning, she'd be gone. Sometimes I wonder if I had only dreamed she was by my side, her rough hands gently stroking my face. When I was still young, Cook told me my mama took sick. I never saw her again. I lived with my grandmama Betsy in her cabin until our master told her to bring me up to the big house on what was called the Great House Farm. Grandmama went back to her cabin, but I stayed behind with the other slave children. I was just 6 years old. Much of my time was my own as I was not yet old enough to work the fields. We ate our 2 meals a day out of a trough, just like the animals in the barn. We were always hungry, so we shoved down our meals of cornmeal mush with shells and dirty hands. But even the animals were rested in the heat of the afternoon sun, and they were never whipped bloody for being too tired or too sick or too slow. 8 years old, my mistress told me I was leaving the plantation to go to another master, her brother-in-law in what, Baltimore, Maryland? See? Master rented me out to make extra money. I could not imagine a life beyond my plantation. From Cousin Tom, an older slave on the plantation who had once been to Baltimore, he told me of a city so big and pretty it seemed like 1,000 great house farms. On a Saturday when we sailed down the Miles River with all I owned in the world, my first pair of scratchy breeches and a shift, I did not cry. I was ready to leave Talbot County, Maryland behind. We arrived at Smith's Wharf on Sunday morning. Old Tom never told me that Baltimore looked as if it floated on a sea of waves. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have showed you a photo. There he is. Young Frederick Douglass.
Why is he tied?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why is he tied up on a rope behind us?
Is that because he was still considered a slave?
I believe so. To keep him trying to run away.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Is he dead or still alive?
He's dead.
Oh, Fred. Oh my goodness, Fred. Yeah.
He's been dead for a while now.
And who is this?
That's him as an adult.
Yeah. Oh, wait, just 1 second.
Yes.
Well, basically, when the slaves, well, they actually don't, like, if they're on a boat or anything, they could either be tied up or, like, they could jump in the water. But if they jump in the water, they would drown because they don't really have lessons on how to swim because they're usually working Mars or something.
Right.
He is like when they were first when the slaves were first taken from Africa, they were burned as a there's a marking burned on them, so they would know who they belonged to.
Right.
And I think it was when they were coming back, there's some ships that tried to help free them, but some of the slaves were able to get break out, I think, but they just jumped in the water and drowned because they didn't want to have to live a life as a slave.
Slave, yeah. Yes.
I like the picture.
You like the picture? It is very interesting the way they show the illustration of the story. Yes, it is. All right, let me go to the next. All right, at the Aliciana Street home of my new master Hugh Auld, his wife Sophia opened the door and greeted me. Mrs. was small, not much bigger than me, and she had the first friendly white face I had ever seen. It took us a while to get used to each other. She had never owned slaves, and I had never been treated like a paid servant. I was glad no one ever told her that there is a big difference between a servant you pay and a slave you own. There's a picture of her. That nice lady, he said.
Why do you have to like carry him so hard?
Huh?
Because it looks like he's like pushing him.
Yeah, he does like he's forcing him. I don't know why it's that. I don't know. Oh, listen to this interesting part. Oh goodness. During the day, thank you. Just
Like he's falling.
I know. I'm trying to keep it on here. Okay, it says during the day I ran errands for my master. In the evenings, Mrs. sat by the fire and read her Bible aloud. Her kindly smiling voice warned me as I entered the room. I do not know why, but I asked her to teach me to read. On that night, she took me directly into her library, pulled out the first book she saw, and sat me down next to her. We started with letter A, and she continued from there. The letters felt strange on my lips. As I read, I remember hearing of a boy back on the plantation who had his thumb chopped off when he was caught reading, and the letters I was reciting got caught in my throat. I remember my old master's words when he gathered us all us slaves together to announce anyone caught trying to read will be whipped, and my mouth was dry.
Wait, why did they have to cut up someone's
Because they weren't allowed to learn how to read and write.
They wanted to keep them under bondage.
Yeah.
What does a bondage mean?
Under bondage means that you are indebted to someone.
And you can never be free.
It means that you won't have your own freedom.
Yeah.
You won't be able to go out, like see other people walking, you won't be able to walk and do what they do. Yes, sir.
But Clara Brown bought her own freedom.
What did he say?
Clara Brown bought her own freedom.
Yeah. Several people did that back in that time. And you even had some blacks that owned slaves.
Oh, yes.
And then we were some white people that were slaves in the southern part of Georgia and Louisiana and Mississippi. They were indentured slaves.
All right, let me continue so I can get as much as I can. Every day she gave me more letters to learn until I knew I had the whole alphabet and a few words memorized. She promised me that soon I would be able to read the Bible on my own. I wanted to read for myself. Where in the Bible it said one man should own another, but before that could happen, he found out. I couldn't blame her. Mrs. was so proud she had taught me all of my letters in such a short time that she told her husband so. I thought he was going to whip me right there, but his words hurt worse than any lashing. He should know nothing but to obey his master, to do as he is told to do, he shouted. And my mistress looked away, ashamed. If you teach him how to read, there will be no keeping him. It would forever unfit him to be a slave. Didn't you just mention that about see? I may not have known how to read, but I knew that if learning made me no longer wanting to be a slave, then I would secure my freedom one letter at a time. Oh, the picture. I'm sorry. Wait. There you go. Yeah, sorry about that.
What is he doing with the thing? What is he doing?
Oh, he's like he's afraid or frightened that he's gonna get whipped because he thought that the slave master's husband was going to whip him because remember she told him that she was teaching him how to read, and then he mentioned about he doesn't need to know how to read. Remember?
Is his master
I got it. Don't worry. I got it.
Is his master white or was he
Oh yeah, he was white. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go to this page, next page here, so you can hear what he's been learning so far. She locked the door to the library and hid away the newspapers. She watched me all the time to make sure I was not putting together any more of those letters she had taught me. I knew she wished she could take it all back, but it was too late. With a brick and a lump of chalk was first how I practiced my letters. Scratched them all along the brick streets and wooden fences of Baltimore. P looked like a sail on one of the ships. L was a leg with a big foot. 2 sticks crossed in the middle. That was X. That's how he learned the letters. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you got a chance to see the picture. All right. There was plenty of food in Master All's house. Food enough to share. I started bringing along some bread in case some of the white children from the neighborhood needed convincing. They did not have much. So for just a piece of bread, I dared them to write letters better than me. What they wrote, I copied. I told them my name. Let me see you try it, I said. Fast as I could, I ran to complete all my errands for my missus. Then me and my new friends would get to work on my writing. Rolled in the seat of my breeches where I kept my copybook. Mine, now that I took it from Master's son Thomas. Even though he was only 6, Mrs. said he learned his letters a year ago. He was reading now. While I ran through the wharves and narrow streets of Baltimore, I was reading the words the ship carpenter scribbled on timbers and masts, the names of shops and streets, headlines from the newspapers held in a newsboy's hand. I kept all those words in my head and copied them into my book when I got a chance. As I ran, I could almost feel myself free, running to a home where no man called himself a master of another. Sometimes before I returned, I stood on the docks watching the ships free to go as they pleased.
Whoa. Wait, is that the national? That looks like a different flag than ours.
Oh, but this is the American flag. I don't know why it looks that way. It has like a circle of stars around it instead of the...
That was because there was still the time of slavery, and that was still part of the southern versus the northern. That was like a northern flag.
Oh, okay.
The South had their own Confederate flag.
I know, it's one of the flags. We have this flag book, and that doesn't really look like our flag. It looks like a different.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's still ours.
Right.
It's still ours.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish reading this. This is very interesting. Okay, at 12 years old, with tips I saved from my errands, I bought my first newspaper and learned new words: liberty, justice, and freedom. Abolition was the word the newspapers used when they called for ending slavery. These were the words my master would never want me to see. Not that I was reading about Negroes in the North, free from the burden of slavery. It was as if someone had lit a candle to my world. I saw freedom everywhere I looked, and the hope of it was what kept me alive. For 7 years I worked for my master and his missus down at the shipyard, lifting and laboring, and back at their house, toting and hauling, always pretending to be something I was not, content to be a slave. When my old master, Captain Anthony, died, I had to return to Great House Farm to be divided up with the rest of his property, along with the sheep, the horses, and the swine.
Is he a shepherd? Is he a shepherd?
No, he just treated him like that.
Oh, because I've heard sheep.
Well, the sheep was part of the property of
Yeah,
the
his property, yeah.
of the gentleman that owned him.
Oh,
Right.
okay, I thought he was a shepherd.
Okay, Great House Farm remained the same. Hunger, weariness, and sadness seeped into the souls of every slave. The boy who returned to his birthplace was not the same who had left years earlier. That young boy was replaced with a 15-year-old who was free on the inside but not yet free on the outside. Though my copybooks and newspapers were long gone, words comforted me in the fields as I chopped cotton from sunup to sundown, and words lay down with me at night when my body ached with pain and hunger. I knew that the words would put an end to my suffering. I just wasn't sure when and how. I was hired out to work for Mr. William Freeland, and while he was kinder than most, he was still a man who believed it was his divine right to own another human being. Don't worry, I'm almost done.
Is he still a kid or has he grown
Oh,
up?
remember he's 15 now.
Oh.
15, yeah. That's what it says. He's 15. All right. It says, since my return to Talbot County, Maryland, I became friends with Henry, John, and Handy, and I often spoke of my years in Baltimore. When I first told them I learned to read, they stopped short and looked around to see if anyone else was nearby. They asked me to teach them. I did. That's how I knew I can trust them. From then on, I thought I would devote my Sundays to teaching these, my loved fellow slaves, how to read. At first, we had school among the trees, me scratching out letters and words in the dirt with a stick. John caught on fast, and he helped me teach the others. They never missed a Sunday. Sometimes they brought others, who then brought others. We had a school before long, but as far as the master knew, we were having church. So they thought they were having church, right?
Yeah.
Sitting on rocks and stumps and tired from the week's works, we sang out the alphabet like we sang out spirituals. Those of us who could read from the Bible, we were doing God's work. There you go.
So he's still 15
I never
now?
even learned this part about Frederick Douglass. I'm so glad I'm reading this book. It's like I'm learning as I'm reading.
So he's still 15?
Yeah, at the time it says he's still 15, yes.
15.
During one of our services, I got the idea for how I could run. Sometimes someone mentioned they knew where Master kept his paper and quills, and I did think we could use them. At first I said no, we needed nothing from Master, but then I started thinking. First I approached John, and then 3 others decided to join us in our escape. We would steal a boat from the neighboring Hamilton farm and make our way in the night on the Chesapeake Bay. Everyone heard of the Chesapeake Bay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? From there we would follow the North Star. Okay. Oh, up the page. I'm sorry. I was supposed to show you the picture. This is the picture, sorry.
So they were thinking a way to get out?
Yes, exactly.
But you need a boat to get out if you're trying to follow.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. They was trying to make their way on the night on the Chesapeake Bay. Remember, on the boat. Yeah. All right. Here you go. 8 years have passed since I sat in the library of Mrs. All learning my letters, and 8 years still since Master All had issued the warning to his wife. It was the only time in my life when I agreed with my master. I was now unfit to be a slave. Just before Easter, which is in spring, with a fine quill and paper secured by one of the house slaves, I wrote in a firm and steady hand. This is his first letter he's written. It says, "This is to certify that I, the undersigned, to have given the bearer, my servant Frederick Bailey, full liberty to go to Baltimore to spend the Easter holiday. Written with mine own hand." This is the year 1835, William Hamilton, near St. Michael's in Talbot County, Maryland. I always knew that somehow words would set me free, but words on paper were now going to let me walk right out of Talbot County and into freedom up north. This is what he wrote, see?
How old is he now?
Well, I know he's still a teenager, but they didn't say how old he, they said 15, that's the age they stop at this book, but this is the end of the book now, so I guess he was
23, because it was 8 years later he was 15, it's 23.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank
He
you.
died
I'm
at
glad
23.
you straightened that out for us, yeah, because I'm thinking
Knew
he's
it.
35, okay.
He died? That's in,
No, he died in, I don't know if it says the year. I forgot what year he died. But he did live in Maryland all his life. He had his own house. As a matter of fact, they had on the news where they showed exactly where he lived in Maryland. The house is now like a museum or historic site where you can actually go to see where he lived. In Maryland.
Where, in Maryland?
Yeah, but I forgot the name of the county. Remember, Dr. Brown, remember the name of the county? Yeah, oh yes. That's right. Your teacher can look it up.
There's some place in Washington D.C. that's the National Historic Site.
Okay.
That's not the one you're talking about.
Yeah, remember the one time it was actually in Maryland. Yeah.
doesn't highlight that one.
Okay. Because they did show, remember the actual house he lived in? You know, they turned it into a, you know, where people can come and visit and tour. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's in Southeast?
It's,
Pen, back here.
historic site, the one that has the website.
Okay.
Pen. Back here. Like Martin Luther King's house is like a museum too.
Yeah, it's in Atlanta. Atlanta, Georgia.
It's a nice quote from him. It says, "I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong." I like that.
I know, me too.
I like it too.
I know. That should. We all should go
We should
by
go on a
it.
field trip there, hey?
I know. That's not what they. Yeah.
It's in
That's,
the Northeast, it's right down the road.
oh, so
We
it's
should
in.
plan on that, eh?
It's in Northeast. Okay, so the actual quarters. You know how they call it, the living quarters.
Maybe that's not the same one, but they have a house.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a good field trip.
We should consider that, folks.
Yeah, isn't that neat, guys? You actually get to see where. Are you okay?
Here's the
Did you tell the teacher?
Yeah.
But my aunt did.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's because he's hungry. He died in 1895. He was born in 1818.
Yeah, so he lived a long time.
So how old is he?
So when you mean when he died, he had to be about
What year he was born in?
no, we was trying to figure out what year he was when he died.
Well, I can tell you that. What year was he born in?
Excuse me, Miss what is your name? I'm sorry.
Deleon.
Miss Deleon. So he was born in was the 1818.
1818, and he died in
1895.
1818.
Uh-huh.
67.
Oh, he's 67?
77.
Is it 77 on
He
this?
died of a massive heart attack or stroke.
Oh, okay.
Hope he's still alive if he did.
Then you said that's what you call his relative?
That's his great grandfather. He told us. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. He looks just like him.
That's what everybody was saying. Then you said,
Yes, sir. Here's a question.
oh, I'm sorry.
On the news sometimes.
Yeah.
On the news sometimes.
Yes.
Some people still make it.
You know, it says that he was an abolitionist that we've been talking about. But did you also know he was a suffragist? Suffragist was somebody who made sure that people got the right to vote.
Oh.
And that's what he did. I did not know that.
I know. And they have a statue in the Capitol building, Capitol Hill. The statue of Frederick Douglass, yeah.
We should take this field trip.
Yeah, it does sound interesting, yes. Sometimes he's helping everybody to read.
Let's read that last book.
We have time?
Miss Deleon, do we have time for one more book?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
great.
Just jump up and down for a little second time?
Yeah,
Go
let's
ahead,
take a little break
yeah,
right quick.
Take a little break, yes, please.